Hi everyone, and welcome to our second session for In the Know, Tips and Tricks for Evolve 365. I want to thank everybody again joining us today. We're going to wait another minute or so for a few others to go ahead and log into the site, and then we'll get started. And again, when you are logged into the GoToWebinar, if you do have any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat box, and I will see that and go ahead and answer your questions. We do have a couple other Planet people who are helping me monitor that, so if I don't pick it up right away, they'll let me know that there is a question in there. Okay, and while we're waiting for a couple of other people to join, we did push out the video from last week where we talked about business email basics onto our Planet YouTube channel. So I will be sending out a link to that later, and if you're wondering where we're going to be posting those videos, we did mention last week that we were going to be putting them on our free trial site. We're still working on getting them over to the free trial site, but again, for the time being, you can go search for our YouTube channel and you'll be able to find that video. You'll also see another demo that Jennifer Mason did on dashboards in SharePoint. Okay, so we're at our 1 minute mark, and I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. We are going to be recording this session, and again, we will be posting it on YouTube later today while we're still working on getting those onto the free trial site. So just like I said, thank you everybody for joining us today. This is our second session for In the Know, Tips and Tricks for Evolve 365. We wanted to start this weekly series to give simple and easy tips that anyone can go back to their desk and quickly implement. We know that all of our time is very valuable, so I really do appreciate you joining today, and our goal is to always keep these sessions no more than 30 minutes. We try and cover a minimum of 3 tips each session, and sometimes it's going to be even less than 30 minutes. We want you to be able to come in, get some quick information that you can put to immediate use, and then go about your day. The other great thing that we're doing is we are pushing out the topics monthly, so you only have to sign up for the series once versus signing up 4 or 5 times every week. We are working on our June topics right now, and those should be coming out about the middle of the month. I already mentioned this, but again, if you missed last week's session, we are posting them on our YouTube channel, and you can follow Planet on Twitter or myself, Tanya Kaiser, and you'll see those links being posted. So for those of you who are new, a little bit about me. I'm Planet's Evolve 365 Trusted Advisor. I've got more than 15 years experience in document management and project management across multiple industries, including technology, legal, nonprofit, and construction. I'm also a longtime Microsoft geek and SharePoint nerd, so this is one of the things that I really love about my job, is getting able to share these short tips and tricks that really make an impact on an end user and information's work everyday things that you do. So I love going out and training and teaching people new things and then showing them something simple that can make a big impact in their daily lives. And again, if you have any questions after this session, please feel free to reach out to me either on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can also go check our Planet website at go-planet.com or o365support.com for more information about us. And I am going to talk a little bit about Planet. You'll see that we've been a long-time Microsoft partner. We've actually been Microsoft Federal Partner of the Year 6 times. And State and Local Partner of the Year 5 times. And one of the new ones that's not listed on this slide is that we're also the 2015 Microsoft Cloud Services Partner of the Year. Planet has been providing expert support for over 18 years, and we do offer full services for the entire Microsoft Cloud and Productivity Suite, including advisory, deployment and training services, mobile application development and solutions, and strategic business consulting, including technology, compliance, and security guidance. So we're going to go right into this just like we did last week. Last week we talked about some business email basics, and I showed you the different options that you have between Outlook, the Windows 10 Mail app, and then Outlook on the web that you have with Office 365. We're going to do something very similar today, except this week we're going to focus on your calendars. And we're going to show you a few small changes that can make a big impact in your daily tasks. So very much like email, it's essential to the business. You really can't get away from it. So are calendars. Calendars, people live and die by them. If you don't have your calendar with you, either on your laptop, your desktop, or your mobile device, we're usually lost without them, or we have to have somebody reminding us. So today, again, I'm going to show you some very small changes, and the first thing that we're going to talk about is how you display multiple calendars. So this is a pretty common task across the business nowadays, not just for people who are scheduling meetings and arranging somebody else's calendars, but just for people as we have more flexible work hours, more remote workers. You want to be able to pull up someone's calendar and see what their availability is. So one thing that I like to do is add the calendars for people that I regularly meet with so I can see them right at a glance if I need to reach out to them. If you're managing meeting rooms, you can also have those meeting rooms added to your calendar. The great thing about this is that you can toggle those calendars on and off once you have them pulled into your Outlook client. And the other thing that you got to be aware of is that you're only going to see a calendar with information as good as the person is entering it. So if you know somebody who never really uses their calendar, you can pull it in. You're not going to get a lot of information. But nowadays, most people, they use their calendar just as much, if not more, than their email to keep track of their schedules. Some of the other things that we're going to talk about is showing free and busy time. Again, you're going to be able to see what that person wants you to see. So we're going to go right into a very short demo, and I'm going to go to Outlook first. I always prefer the full-fledged version of Outlook. And again, in Outlook, I'm just going to click over to the calendar. Now, one thing that is new with 2016 is you do have this peak, so it may be slightly different if you're still on Outlook 2013. You can see I hover over the calendar and I can get a quick little look at my own calendar without leaving my inbox. But in this case, I'm actually going to click my calendar and switch over to it. You can see I've got it on the work week view right now. Of course, I can toggle between that. I'm going to maybe pick day for this one. The reason I'm doing that is I want to open somebody else's calendar. So right within the home ribbon, I can just click Open Calendar, and in this case, it's from my address book. We're using Active Directory. It's somebody within my organization. And maybe I want to see Alex, who's the marketing assistant that I'm working with. I open their calendar. Maybe I want to do one more and click OK. And just like that, these calendars will populate over. So it's going to give them a couple of minutes to populate. Once these calendars pull up, I can now look at our day today and say, oh, I need to grab some time at 2 o'clock. Let me go ahead and do that. And what you'll see over here on the left-hand side is that these are both checked. So if I regularly work with Alex and Bonnie, I can uncheck their calendars and just have, like that, clear up my calendar. If I want to see it again, I can pull them over. The other cool thing that you can do is you can stack these calendars by clicking the little arrow here. That puts it in an overlay mode. So now I can see we all have the same meeting. And even though this is tentative, it's at the same time, and I probably have a pretty good idea that we're in the same meeting. So I could come in here and schedule a new meeting right at 1 or 2, whatever time I prefer. Again, I can uncheck them from the left-hand panel, or I can just click the X up there on that overlay. Now, once I've added them in, you'll see they're underneath here. If I continue to add people, this gets filled up really quickly. But if I ever want to delete them, I can just right-click on that and then say Delete Calendar, and I no longer have that person there. The other thing that you'll notice is that it automatically gave me the option to show my whole team. So I can click the whole team all together. Now, it does want to default to a stacked view. You can always go back and change it to day. And if maybe I don't want to see my whole team, then again, I can click into the individual calendars. So this is a really, really great way that you can view a schedule at a glance and really find the right time to coordinate your meeting. So this is in the Outlook client application. It is always going to give you the most options, but one good thing is we also have the Windows 10 Mail app. Now, I will say in the Windows 10 Mail app, it is a much more simplified version. And I can click into the calendar and it's actually going to show me the same thing. I can view my work week, I can view my day, but you'll notice that the options that I have are limited. There's really no easy way within the Mail app to open somebody else's calendar. Now when you click more calendars, it's just giving you country holiday calendars. So that's the Mail app. Again, it is a simplified version of it. Not a lot of nice options there. Now I will say that they have made tremendous improvements in the Outlook on the web app, so the web app that you get with Office 365. So with Office 365, they're really trying to make Outlook on the web as close to the client application Outlook as possible. So again, I can see my work week, I've got it selected. I can change the view to day if I wanted to. But here's the great thing. They do have the Add Calendar option even for Outlook on the web. So I have the choice of making a secondary calendar, which isn't really what I want. And I can say from directory, so the terminology is a little bit different, and I can start searching, and then right away Alex will come up, and I can just say open. And very much like the client application, you can see now the two calendars are together. Now because it is on the web, it automatically gives you an overlay. I can click day to see it a little bit clearer. And then again, if I want to close out that calendar, I can just click the X. And you'll notice in my left-hand panel, it kept his calendar there. So very similar, right-click, select remove. And that's something that they've really been working on for Outlook on the web, making it as close to the client application as possible. So that was our first tip, how to view multiple calendars. Again, you can fill up that left-hand panel really, really quickly, but you always have the option to right-click and remove people. So the next tip that we wanted to focus on was working across time zones. As more people work from home, we have remote hours, we have flexible hours, we also have global workforces. Sometimes it gets a little tricky remembering what time zone you're working with, especially in my case, I'm in the central time zone, but I work with a lot of people from the East Coast and a lot of people from the West Coast. So there is a way within Outlook that will help you with your scheduling, especially if you work primarily with one team in a different time zone. So the other thing that you can do if you have a global workforce or global collaborators, maybe it's a customer or a vendor that you're working with, you can add that country's holidays, which if you're working with somebody from the European Union, they have other holidays that we may not be aware of, and that's always good to help you plan things. So again, going right into our demo, and I'm going to go to Outlook first. My preference is almost always to start with Outlook because it does give me the most possibilities for controlling my calendar and my email. But again, the Outlook on the web client is getting pretty close to it. So the first thing that I want to do with my calendar, maybe Tony is in the East Coast, and I really work with a lot of people from the East Coast, so I want to actually show that time zone. So I'm going to go over to File and Options, and this is the actual options for Outlook itself. I'm going to click Calendar, and you'll notice as we scroll down a little bit more, you've got a section for time zones. You can label them. So this is Central Time. I know what my time zone is, but maybe I just want to make sure. And then I also have the option to show a second time zone. And I'm going to call that East Coast. And they've got you a drop down with all of the time zones available. And really, once you click OK, you'll now see 2 time zones on your calendar. Now it does limit you to 2, so unfortunately you can't put 3 or 4 time zones if you're working with people across the globe. But this is one simple way. If you work with a large team in a different time zone, it makes it a lot easier to help you remember when to schedule those meetings. So it shows East Coast and then Central. I can see that I'm in my time zone 10, but maybe Tony and Aziz are on the East Coast. Now again, if I suddenly am working with a team on the West Coast, just come back into Options, choose Calendar, scroll down to the time zone section, and I can easily change that time zone. So they make it, and of course we want to update the name. So they make it pretty easy to manage 2 time zones on your calendar, and sometimes that's all we need is that little visual reminder. The other thing that they do, going back into Options and on the Calendar tab, and back to time zone, is you also have the option to swap time zones, and that's really just flipping them. So maybe I want to see Central first and then West Coast, or if I'm following the sun, maybe I want to see the West Coast first, vice versa. So this is one easy way that you can, on your calendar, see the 2 time zones that you're working with. Now the other thing that I mentioned is maybe we're working with somebody who is in another country. Again, going back to Options, going to Calendar, and I'm going to swap these time zones really quickly, and I'm going to add the London time zone. And I'm scrolling past it. There we go. And I'm going to click OK. So now I'm showing London time, which is several hours ahead of us. But maybe I have a long-term project with this team or with this company, and I really want to be aware of what holidays they have. So again, back to our Options Calendar tab, and we've got under Calendar Options, Add Holidays. So once we click Add Holidays, it's going to give us a choice. United States is listed by default, but I'm working with this team in London, so I also want to show UK calendars. I'm going to click OK, and then it's going to automatically add all of these holidays to my calendar. You will have some duplicates like Christmas Day, but you'll also notice some other holidays that really affect your work when you're working globally. So for instance, one holiday that's really big in the London area is Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas. So if you come back to work on Christmas, the day after and expect to be working immediately, that's a little reminder that your London team isn't going to be available because they have that national holiday. So you can see it's going to go through all of these holidays and go ahead and import them. And while it's doing that, I'm going to switch over to the Windows 10 Mail app. Now again, a little bit more simplified view, but you do have the option to add those holiday calendars. So you can see they do give you the country options. No built-in option to display a time zone, but again, if you really, really wanted to add those European Union holidays, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel out of that right now. And we're going to go back to our web app. So our web app is simplified, but if you go over to the settings, you are getting a more fully fleshed out view. You can see calendar appearance, region and time zone. You can't really display a second time zone, but you can adjust your time zone. So you'll see right now, for whatever reason, my Outlook on the web is listed as Pacific time. I want to make sure it's showing the correct time, so I'll come in and change that to Central. They also give you the option to do the date format as well. And region, we're choosing United States English. So again, a little less options on the Outlook on the web client, but still has some ability to make sure you're showing the right time zone. If you really, really want to display 2 different time zones, multiple calendars, Outlook client is always going to be the way to go. So our holidays finished adding, and I'm going to jump forward really quickly. And the option that I always like to use is Boxing Day. So again, you can see it's a Christmas bank holiday in the UK, it's a Christmas holiday that's observed in the US, and then there's also Boxing Day in United Kingdom. So that's just a visual reminder to let you know, hey, my London team isn't going to be available today, they have a holiday. And as we scroll through the holidays, you can see Christmas Eve is normally observed in the US, not so much in the UK. So that's one other thing that you can do. We're going to go back over to our slide right now. Now the other thing that is really, really good to do within Outlook or any calendar client is control your own time. So this means that you can set the expectation for people that you're available at certain hours. So you can set your working hours. If you're using Skype for Business and you sometimes click on somebody and it says off of work, or if you're sending an email to somebody and you right-click and you see, outside of working hours or available at 8 a.m., this comes from the calendar options when you're setting your working hours. I did mention at the beginning, the calendar is only as good as what people put into it, and you may not be able to see a lot of details, and that's what you can do as well. You can decide who can see what on your calendar by setting your free and busy time. I also highly recommend to people who live and die by their calendar and find out that they're going from meeting to meeting to meeting with no break in between to add your own recurring appointments. This can be a daily walk, a lunch appointment if you really want to get up and get away from your desk and not work through lunch, your gym appointments, or even off work hours. So if you're working a split shift because you are working with that London team, go ahead and block that time off, make your own recurring appointments, and that lets other people know, hey, this is my time, and let's schedule a meeting around it. So these are all pretty basic things, but the one thing I do want to show you in our demo is how you can set your working hours. So we're going to go back to our Outlook app. And again, always starting with File and Options. And in this case, we're going right back to Calendar. You can see the first block of time is work hours. So maybe my actual shift is 8 to 5. I'm a first shift worker. But I always want to take the first 2 hours of the day to go through emails and do some planning. So I'm actually going to show my start time at 10. And I want to take the last hour of my day to wrap up. So I'm going to end my work hours at 4. Now this doesn't mean that you suddenly are working 8, 9 hours but doing 4. This just is going to show on your calendar the times that you're available. We've got the regular work week, Monday through Friday. Sunday starts on January 1st. That's all pretty standard. We're going to click OK. And you'll notice a little bit when I go to a business day, let's go back to today, that the shading on my calendar has changed. So if somebody is looking at my calendar, they're going to see that only from 10 to 4 I'm available. Now, of course, I'm working from 8 to 10, but this is going to be my time, and I'm going to set a recurring calendar to be from 8 to 9:30 And this is when I'm going to be reviewing my own things. If you want to go ahead and fill out your categories, you can. It's going to prompt you the first time you use one to give it a name. And we're just going to say this is going to recur for, we'll just do the first week. You can put it on an end date. Maybe we're just going to do this through May and see how it works out. And then save and close. So if you didn't have this in there, somebody would see that your working hours are 10 to 4, but you can also come in and set your own appointment. Maybe that 4 o'clock window is, your gym time or carpool time, but this is letting people know when you're available. So the other thing that we want to do is go in and decide how much do we want to show people on our calendar. Again, we're going back to File, over to Options, onto Calendar. And you can see in Calendar Options, we've already added our holidays there. We've got an option to change the permissions for viewing free and busy information. Once we click on this, we get a little box, and it goes right into permissions. You can see that the default is free busy time. And what that means is all somebody's going to be able to see is if you're free or busy, no other detail. And you can see an option when I opened these other calendars. Let's see if there's something on them that we can show. Maybe we'll go back to the ones that we opened earlier with Alex. Pop that one out. And you can see I've got tentative, but I don't have any detail on it. And that's what they mean by free busy. If they have something on your calendar and you don't have any additional permissions, looks like nobody else is working in this company. You can see all I see is tentative. I don't see a subject. I don't see any other information. I can just tell that they have something at that time. So that's great. If there's no reason that you need to keep your calendar within your own company, highly confidential, I always suggest that you come into those free busy options and you change free busy time to free busy time, subject, and location. It's going to prompt you and say, are you sure you want to change these permissions? Go ahead and say yes. And what that means is that if somebody's looking at your calendar from that 8 to 9:30 block that we just saw, they're not just going to see that it's blocked off as busy. They're going to see that it's personal work time. So again, I suggest that because it helps people know, oh, well, she has personal time there, but I know this is a really urgent item. So let me, send her an email and say, hey, I know that's your personal work time, but we really got to, touch base on this tomorrow morning first thing. It's not giving you the full details. They're not going to be able to open up that appointment item and see, who sent it, when was it sent, how long has it been there, but it's just giving you the time, subject, and location if you're using location. So that's what I suggest, that you change your default permissions for the calendars. Gives people a little bit more information. What we tend to see happening is somebody will see a calendar blocked out all day long as busy, and they figure you're not keeping all those meetings, and they'll send you an invite anyway. If you give them a little bit of information, they're actually viewing what's going on in your day, and they'll have a better idea, wow, she is meeting people all day long, but I have this urgent item. Let me see if I can pop in during her personal work time. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can also add people. Maybe there's a person like Alex, my marketing assistant. We're going to be working a lot closer together, and I decide that I want them to be able to see everything on my calendar. I can come over here and make that full details only for that one person. Or maybe I want them to be in charge of my calendar because now we're going to be doing some PR promotions or some webcasts like I'm doing today. I want them to be able to go in and actually add items to my calendar without having to wait for me. So we would come over to the right box and say, let them create items. So you can see those permissions are changing just for the one person. And again, if you ever need to remove that access, you would just come in, right-click, and click Remove. You can always add them back and give them the standard permissions. Really, really easy to control just by going to your options. So, and again, that's on, the way you get to that is File, Options, and then for Calendar, it's in that second little block of time there, Free Busy Options. So I've already talked about how you can set the time for your working hours to kind of control your day a little bit better. Decide who can see what on your calendar, and if you do want to add additional people with higher permissions, maybe you're working with a team who's coordinating something, you obviously have that option and can remove that at any time, and then add your own recurring appointments. So this is all within the Outlook application. When you get over to the Windows Mail app, which just closed on me, but we'll see if it opens up, you are a little bit more limited. So when you come to the Windows Mail app and you click your settings, which is in the gear, you've got manage accounts, personalization, some quick actions, automatic replies, but that's really about it. So if we were to go into personalization, we think maybe that's our working hours. You can see it's just how are we viewing this app. There's not much more to it. If we were going to come into quick actions, it's just giving us, hey, what do you want to do when you swipe right, hover, swipe left? So with the Windows Mail app, again, very simplified, can't do a whole lot with it. If we go over to the Outlook on the web app, you do have some more options. Again, this is going to our gear. The gear is always going to lead us to an options or settings menu. You can set their region and time zone. You can change some notifications, and under the app settings, you can go into calendar. You see you've got a little bit more there, but again, still a little bit more simplified. If I click through these, you've got a birthday calendar that will let you track birthdays if you want. Calendar appearance, you can see you can set your working hours, and this is the thing that I love that they're doing with Outlook on the web. We were in Outlook the client, and I changed my working hours from 10 to 4, but that carried over to my Outlook on the web client. So if I wasn't using the full-blown Outlook client application, I could actually come in on the web and make that change as well, which is a great thing that they're allowing you to do now. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot more. So they did give you that option there. So I want to pause really quickly and see if anyone has any questions. We're coming up pretty close. And I'm just going to take a quick peek just to make sure there's no questions. Now, the one other thing that I wanted to show before we wrap is there is one new feature that they've added in very recently to the Outlook on the web version. And this is a rare instance where normally you get, the full feature in the Outlook client app, but in this case there's a feature on Outlook on the web that you can't do from the Outlook client application. So they just rolled this out a few weeks ago, mid-April, and it actually is letting you do a little bit more functionality when you have an automatic reply. So if you're going to a conference or going on vacation, you want to make sure you set up your automatic replies on your email to let people know, hi, this message has been sent automatically. I'm away from my desk at the moment, but if, here's some information. Maybe you have an escalation path for internal emails. Maybe you have an emergency number for outside organization emails. But one thing that they're doing really, really neat on the Outlook on the web client is when you have automatic replies set up specifically through the web, you now have the option to automatically decline any meetings that are within that window. It'll block off your calendar, and you can also set it to decline any incoming meetings that are, a meeting invitation that comes in while you're out. It will automatically decline it. So I want to show that really, really quickly on the Outlook web app version. And if we go back to, I'm just going to go all the way back to the beginning. Oh, it's going to want me to sign in again. I'm going to open up my calendar app. And on my gear, we've got automatic replies. And if I just click send them and I specify my dates, once I check this box, I've got these 3 new options. So I can say block my calendar period for this, and I can even give it a title. And I can say, out of office. And the Ignite conference is actually coming up in September, but you can give it a title. Now, here's the other 2 options. I can automatically decline new invitations. So while I'm gone, if an invitation comes in, it's going to decline it. It's not going to be sitting in my inbox. And I can also choose the other option to decline and cancel my meetings during this period. So this is brand new, and you can see I can even check them. So here's all of my meetings. Now look, it's smart enough to know that my desk work is a personal appointment because there's no inviting in there. So it's not even going to select it. And it's going to select all the other ones, but maybe I know this one I'm going to call into. So it's a really, really great feature that you have specifically with the on the web client. So that's one thing that I really, really was happy to see come out in the actual client. So I know we're coming up against time, and I just want to switch over and really ask everybody, if these are the sort of tips that you think are useful, especially that one about the new feature in Outlook on the web. One product that we have to make sure that you are completely informed and aware of those changes is Evolve 365. It is a subscription-based help desk as a service. Again, Office 365, Outlook clients, any other Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We've even got some stuff on Project, all of the Office applications, everything for Office 365, also Windows as well. It is on-demand help, and we do have a free trial for you. I'm going to go ahead and skip our demo today. But if you go to our free trial site, excuse me, freetrial.o365support.com, you'll be able to see a few sample videos. It is a trial site, so it does have limited content, but you can sign up for that free trial, view some of our videos, and you'll even see some things on there on calendar options as well. So again, we are going to be posting the recording of this session onto YouTube. We are still working on getting those videos over to the free trial site. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, or go to our website. And I do want to remind everybody that there is a big Microsoft event that's coming up today. It's happening in about the next hour and a half. We're going to have the Future of SharePoint. And then next week, we're going to have Planet's perspective on this broadcast for the Future of SharePoint 2016. Later in May, we'll also have a demo on the Evolve 365 site as well. And I hope everyone who's been watching this has enjoyed it. And if you come back next week, we're going to be talking about working the magic in Word, all the different references and review options that you have built into Word itself. So thanks everyone for joining today. I don't see any questions, so we're going to go ahead and wrap right at a minute over. I thank you again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next week.